What's up, guys? Thick Boy Cycling here. Still thick, still cycling. So this here is my first crit. The first one I posted was a training crit. Placement didn't matter in that one. It was more about gaining the experience to race safely. That was out in Fremont as the early bird race. So I got dropped in that race in a few laps. I gained some valuable lessons out of that. Number one was to take efficient lines to the corners. Pedal efficiently, meaning keeping consistent and steady power output instead of coasting and pedaling hard repeatedly. Like I would just really dig deep, get up behind somebody, draft off of them, and be so excited to just be behind them. I would just coast in their draft. They would pull away, and then I'd have to pedal super hard to get back in that draft. It was just wasting a ton of energy. Number three would be just the draft. Always be behind somebody. Always be saving energy if you can. And I think one of the most important lessons I learned was just what it feels like to be in a crit, and that is that it's just gonna hurt, and you're kind of gonna have to dig deep, ignore your body signals that are telling you to stop, and just keep pushing through. So getting into this race here, this is the Land Park crit. My goal in this race was to just finish. I wasn't trying to compete, I was just trying to complete it. All I wanted to do was not get dropped, and to be honest, I almost didn't sign up for this race because I was so nervous about getting dropped again. But I'm glad I did. Glad I signed up. So driving out to the Land Park, I had a couple things I wanted to focus on going into this race. Number one, honestly, was getting my number pinned on. So no one really talks about this, but it's fucking hard. And if you're by yourself, you're having to take your jersey on and off 1,000 times to get it pinned right. Especially when you're a thick boy, because that jersey stretches. So getting that done took me about under 10 minutes. I was super stoked, and then when I lined up, the official came over and notified me that my numbers were upside down and I needed to fix them. But at this point I had like 5 minutes before the race, and I figured the judges could just sort of figure it out themselves. Number two, I wanted to draft super efficiently. I always wanted to be on somebody's wheel. I wanted to corner super good. I wanted to take clean lines, those Gran Turismo lines. Playing the video game, if you know, you know. They'll show you the most efficient lines to take, and cycling is pretty similar to the lines you want to take. Number four is just manage my breathing, my heart rate. I wanted to keep my mind in the game. I wanted to remember that if I'm hurting, so is everybody else around me. And that mindset kind of helped me get through the Marine Corps and build camaraderie with my buddies. And when you feel like giving up, everyone else does too, but they're pushing on, and if they can keep pedaling, so can I. So this was a 35-minute Cat 5 race, and honestly I think I did pretty good. I did pretty good by my standards. I stuck to my goals. I did a lot better at managing my heart rate and my power steadily. A few things that I took from this race that I need to work on: still the basics, drafting, cornering, lines. Drafting, I did a lot better, but something I noticed in this race where there were times when I wasn't on a wheel and I was either deciding where I wanted to go next or waiting for somebody to make a move, and I was kind of like in just a lull period. And in a race, it goes so fast. When I go back and watch the video, it's like almost a half a lap, a full lap sometimes. I don't have a wheel, trying to figure out what I want to do, and that's just energy wasted. So I really need to focus on committing to moves and just getting on that wheel and locking in. Cornering. So for this race, somebody called it a bell pepper track, and I can't get it out of my head now, but the top of the bell pepper is where the only real cornering is here, and that first corner, it's more than a 90-degree corner, and the race was slowing down if you were in the pack to like 17 miles per hour, and then you just put in a huge effort to get back up to speed and continue on, and that every single lap was just killing me. So yeah, going back to this turn, the one we just took, you can see it's down to 16 miles per hour, 1,000 watts. Going through this one at 18, putting in 700 watts right now. Back to 0. 600 watts again, just to get through that little turn, as opposed to this one where I noticed this guy shoot out to the left. I decided to get on his wheel, and he took us all the way to the front of the pack. I wasn't going to go to the front, but I would stay behind him. And you'll see when we go through these corners the speed difference between what we just did and the power, how steady it is, or how steady it could have been. So we're doing 26 right now, coming into it. Hit the apex 25, slow down to what, 21 miles per hour. .22, so you can see the speed difference taking the lines you want to take rather than being in the middle of the pack. Being closer to the front in this crit especially would have helped a lot, because you would have been able to choose your lines a little bit more, and just saving that energy would have overall in the race kind of leveled your efforts off a little bit. Honestly, if I was to get dropped in this race, it would have been because of those corners. Position also, I really need to take in consideration my position and keep that in mind. I mean, this race I was just trying to survive, so I wasn't really thinking about anything other than just hanging on with the pack. But sometimes I'd find myself stuck in the middle of the pack, and I'd be seeing moves on the left hand side, or people moving up the left hand side, and I want to jump on their wheel, but I was stuck. So being in a position where I can jump on wheels and make different moves and just kind of predicting those has really helped me out. One thing I really noticed in these crits, that if you're not actively moving forward in the crit or in the pack, then you're just moving backwards. You're literally going to end up at the end of the pack, because the pack is sort of just always working to move ahead. And times where I'd stick to a wheel, I'd feel comfortable, and I would in my mind think, oh, I could just sit here the entire race, and then the next second I'd be at the back of the pack. People in front of me gaps would open up when they got tired, and I'd have to sprint around them to get back into the pack. So I think sticking to like the first third of the pack is the place to be, and just in your mind just keep thinking, move forward, get on this guy's wheel, pass this guy, move forward, while conserving your energy, but just so you don't end up getting swarmed or just back of the pack and getting dropped because of that. And then another thing that I really picked up from this race was that, so in the last lap I realized, oh my god, I still have a ton of energy. So I at that point decided to let me try to move up into a good position for the sprint, the field sprint. I wanted to be, maybe like between 5th and 10th wheel. And at that point, the last lap, it was just too late. I was getting caught up in the pack. I wasn't able to jump on moves, and that last lap just goes by so quick. So really, within the last 3 laps is where next time I'm going to try to start moving up, getting into a good position for the sprint. So yeah, just fast forwarding to my last lap here, just heading into the second to last. You can really see a lot of the things that I was talking about. So I'll just let it play through and mention things. Well, right here on the left hand side, they're already starting to get in position, better position. I'm locked in right here in the pack, and I can't really go right or left at this point. So I'm missing all these guys shooting up to the front. Not really drafting off this guy, because I'm trying to get off to the right or left, and I'm not really thinking about drafting anymore. So the guy in yellow, I see these guys heading up. The guy to the left is still right there. I couldn't shoot that gap. I probably could have tried, but even at this point I was still thinking about just surviving. Those guys right there, golden. That would have been golden. All of these guys. So now this is where I'm sort of just, by being stagnant, I'm actually losing positions and moving to the back of the pack. And then again through this corner, I'm having to slow down with the pack to 15 miles per hour, put in almost another 1,000-watt sprint to get through it. still in pretty bad position. Around this turn right here, it usually slows down. It's a little bit of an incline, barely, but enough that the pack usually slow down there, so you can kind of take a breath after those corners. So we're doing 26, coming up to this other corner here. This one's a little bit weird. It doesn't look difficult, but it was always a little bit sharper than you thought it was. So now we're coming through this last part. Everyone knows the finish line is coming up, trying to look good. About to hear 1 lap to go. And it's at this point I'm thinking that I pretty much have enough energy. I think I could actually be competitive instead of just finish. Almost in disbelief that I'm still with the pack, to be honest. So usually it was speeding up here, so I decided I'm going to try to get into a better position. I want to get near the front. And like I said, this lap just goes so fast. So I see this guy, so I want to jump on his wheel, try to get ahead. He kind of slows down. And it's just, I mean, this was my first real crit, so it was hard to gauge how much power I could put out and still survive. So I was still a little hesitant to just go all out and then burn out right before the finish line on the last lap. I should have jumped on this big guy's wheel. Another thick boy, fellow thick boy. And I know this left turn's coming up, so at this point I'm pretty much thinking it's too late. I'm not going to move up really any positions here. I could probably, if I knew how to corner better, but the way it's been going, I could have shot. So I tried to shoot around this guy. Taking the inside on this one I found is actually a better line. Take the outside on the first corner, so you can take the inside on these two. Seemed to be a faster line. And then right at this last turn, I wasn't sure if the sprint was going to start right out of the last turn, because that's a pretty long sprint. And I felt like I was moving up in decent positions here. I think I actually yelled at this guy in yellow after this turn to go, because I wanted to draft off of him, but I yelled it before I was in his draft, and he took off. So I ended up having to try to catch him still. I think you'll see him get a little pep in his step right here. Yeah, go. I was like, oh shit, he took off, so I had to take off too a little bit. And then I knew the sprint was a little long, so I kind of sat down. I didn't know who was in front of me. I still thought I was mid-pack, but I just thought I might as well go all out in my sprint. I tried to get in these guys' slipstream. Didn't really do a good job at that. Hit 1200 watts here. Sprint all out, 900, hold it pretty steady, and then right here end up getting 8th place. But 8th place for my first real crit, I was pretty proud and impressed with myself, to be honest. And I think a lot of my mistakes were tactical errors and just from not having enough experience in a crit. Pretty sure my power is there though. So yeah, that was one for the books, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if there's anything I could do different to make it better, more enjoyable for you guys, or just better video overall. This weekend I will be racing in Watsonville. That course has a 4% climb on it, which isn't huge, but I'm a thick boy and I don't like any percent grade climb, so I'm a little nervous about that one. I'm gonna talk about it, I think, before I go out there, and then put that into the video and then talk about how it actually goes down. But I'm pretty excited for it, and see you guys next time.